Hey everyone, Old School Pokemon here. So today's video was going to be the part 2 of my booster pack collection. I actually have part 2 and part 3 recorded within that little video series, if you will. However, I actually just received something in the mail this morning. It finally arrived at my P.O. box, so I figured I'd kind of skip that video and record this video, because this is something that I've really been excited for, and I figured I'd go ahead and share this purchase with everyone. So if you recall, if you watched some of my previous videos, the selling on eBay via the buy it now format versus the auction format, the end of that video, I actually briefly mentioned that I was going to be receiving, that I had made two purchases, and I was waiting to receive them both. That first purchase you obviously saw in a previous video of mine, which was in fact that Pokemon Snap Station kiosk. And today I'm going to be showing you that second purchase. Both of these purchases, the Pokemon Snap kiosk and this purchase right here, probably the two most exciting purchases that I've made, at least in a real long time. If not the two most exciting purchases I've ever made. So we'll hop right into it, and I will kind of explain the purchase as we go along. So right off the bat here, we actually have he actually included this too. He tried submitting it into PSA. It did not get graded, unfortunately. Factory misprint, no holder, and if you can tell by the background here, you can probably get an idea of what that card is. It is, in fact, another no damage Ninetales card. And you might be able to tell who I purchased this card from just based on the sleeve and his kind of grading scale that he uses on the sleeve. If you can't tell, I actually purchased this collection off of King Pokemon, or Gary from Pawn Stars. So this is the first card within that collection. It's a no damage Ninetales. As you can tell, it is missing the 80 damage for the Fire Blast attack, thus the no damage Ninetales error name. This specific card, he graded it as, so 3 dots, generally means PSA 8, quality. I looked at this card already. I would deem it a low 8, kind of the lower spectrum of the 8, but a strong 7. So overall, I agree with his pre-grading. But of course, PSA doesn't grade these cards anymore, so wouldn't be able to send it off, to have it graded by PSA regardless. But overall, it is a real nice condition card. There is a decent amount of whiteness along the edges, but overall, really can't complain. You really don't find these cards in near mint condition anymore. And if you do, they're becoming fewer and fewer between. But so that was the first portion of this purchase. So the overall purchase cost me $8,750 for everything. In terms of this card alone, we agreed upon a price point of $1,000. And I agreed upon that price point just because I had semi-recently purchased two PSA 8 no damage Ninetales, which you saw in a previous video. So I had purchased those two cards for $1,500, which I thought was a decent price, around market value for what these cards are. So I purchased those two cards for $1,500 each, where this one is most likely a PSA 8 candidate. However, it is not graded. I thought $1,000 was fair for this card. So real glad to finally have another no damage Ninetales within the collection. I'll be putting it in one of these screw down holders eventually once I stop recording this video here. But anyway, so that's my number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is number 6 of my ungraded no damage Ninetales cards. Then I have 16 PSA graded no damage Ninetales cards. So slowly building up this collection, adding on to this no damage Ninetales collection slowly. It's getting tough to purchase those cards now. I haven't been able to purchase any of those cards. This is my most recent one since December, when I purchased those 2 PSA created cards. But anyway, that's enough talking about that card. Let's hop into the bulk of this. So I paid $8,750 for this entire purchase. $1,000 was valued for this card alone, so the remainder was $7,750. So let's hop into what I got for that amount. So as you can tell, we've got some uncommons, first edition base set. The remainder of this purchase consists of uncommons, commons, and basic energy cards, all from the first edition base set. I believe there are 1,100 total. I forget the exact amount, but I believe there's 1,100 total first edition base set cards within this collection, which is an absurd amount of base set cards, especially when you're talking first edition base set. Even Shadowless, that's a real good purchase. Purchasing 1,000 of those, but first edition base set, that's nearly unheard of. At least for me, I've never purchased anywhere close to this amount of first edition base cards. So I was real excited to purchase this collection. If you follow eBay at all, if you're as active on searching on eBay as I am, like I said, I purchased this collection off of King Pokemon, or Gary from Pawn Stars. He actually posted this exact collection on eBay. I want to say it was probably 6-8 months ago now. And he had it posted for a while. So maybe even towards a year ago. And then I finally messaged him about 6 months ago looking to purchase this collection. But anyway, he had this collection listed on eBay for $12,900 at the time. And there were 2,000 cards within the collection. All first edition base set, commons, uncommons, and basic energy cards. And so around 6 months ago, I messaged him via email. And we started talking about this purchase, or this collection, and I was interested in purchasing it. And at the time, he was firm at 6,500 or 6,900, somewhere around there. I forget the exact amount. And unfortunately, I just couldn't justify that price point. Because even 6 months ago, these cards were selling as PSA. So if you submitted these cards into PSA and graded them, even 6 months ago, these cards were selling for less than what they are today. A fairly substantial amount less. So I was hesitant to purchase these cards at that price point. I was stuck at $5,000, and he was stuck at $6,500 or $6,900, somewhere around there. So we ended up not making a deal at that time. And since then, I've really regretted that. I've thought about this collection. I've kept it in the back of my mind for like 6 months now. My whole time away on my ship, from September to the beginning of January, I always had this collection in the back of my mind, and would tell myself that after I got home, meaning after I got back from my job, I would email Gary again and see if we could start talking about this purchase again, since I would come home with a kind of refilled bank account after being away for 4 months without spending any money for the most part. So that's what I did. I got home, I messaged Gary via Instagram this time, which was nice. He finally decided to get an Instagram, which I was real happy about, because it makes communication a lot easier. We're able to kind of talk in real time with each other, as opposed to emailing, where it's kind of, you send one email, you wait a couple hours, he responds, and you send another email, going back and forth like that. So Instagram was definitely the way to go, because he's very active on Instagram, in terms of posting as well as responding to messages. Even though his subscriber count is dramatically increasing from when he started it. He's already blown me out of the water with how many subscribers he has, which is reasonable. But anyway, I digress. So I message him on Instagram, and ask him about these cards again. Tell him I'm interested in these cards. And the last time we talked, what's this say? Error back. What's that mean? Hold on. Okay, so that's one of the stamps on the back. So it kind of, the first edition stamp, when the cards were printed and they were stacked up on each other, before the ink dried, it kind of left that indentation or whatever ink error of that first edition stamp. These cards are worth a little bit more than your normal first edition base set maintenance or whatever card it is, but I personally don't value them too much more, but it is cool. So that's that one. But anyway, so I messaged him on Instagram, and we started talking about this collection. I asked him if he's still willing to sell it. At this point, he's hesitant about selling it now, because he has pulled some of the best copies out, the ones that he deemed the best by his pre-grades, and he graded those copies. It was around 100 cards that he graded, and he did real well on that submission. He got the majority. He actually sent me a link to that submission into PSA, so I can see what cards he graded and what grades he received. He actually received a majority of 10s within that submission by taking the best copies that he deemed and submitting them into PSA. The majority were 10s. There were a few 9s. There was one random 7, Red Cheeks Pikachu in there as well, which I thought that was pretty funny. Got a kick out of that. But because of that, he was pretty hesitant to actually sell off this collection, just because with that kind of sampling, he did receive a lot of 10s, and first edition base set 10s are starting to become a lot of money, or not starting, but first edition base set 10s, even commons and uncommons, basic energies, are definitely a lot of money. A lot more than what he could sell these cards individually for, ungraded. So he was kind of hesitant. He did tell me that he would sell everything. So at this point, it's 1,900 cards. He'd sell everything, but he was firm at $15,000, which to me is a lot of money, way more than I could easily justify spending. And for the most part, more than I'm comfortable spending in one single purchase like this, where the cards are, in fact, all ungraded. Plus the fact that it seems PSA within their bulk services are getting a lot stricter on the grades. So $15,000 was definitely more than I was willing. There's just another double colorless energy there. But $15,000 was definitely more than I was willing to spend for this collection, even it being 1,900 cards. So I told him, I kind of stretched my budget. I told him I could offer him $11,000 for everything and feel comfortable offering that amount. Unfortunately, he said that was just a little bit too low compared to what he was hoping to get, and he was kind of leaning towards taking out the best copies, so all the ones that he pre-graded as being the best or the second best, because he had already graded the best copies, so now he was going to take out the second best copies and grade those. So he was kind of leaning towards that. I believe there was 500 copies that he was looking to remove from the collection and grade himself, because those were the ones that he believed had the best shots of 9s and 10s. So I said, okay, let me think about that. So I thought it over for a little bit, got back to him and said, how about this? You're hesitant to sell the collection unless you get your asking price of $15,000. I'm hesitant to spend $15,000 on a single purchase like this. How about we do this? You take out all of the cards that you deem to be the second best grade, since he had already graded those copies that he deemed to be the best. So you take out all those copies that you deem to be the second best grade. You hold on to those, and then we work out a price point on the remainder. So everything else. And he thought that was a great idea. He felt a lot more comfortable about the purchase, being that he was going to keep all the best condition copies and I would receive everything else. And I felt a lot more comfortable about that because the cost was now roughly half of what he originally wanted. So we quickly agreed upon, when I mentioned that, I told him I'd be looking to pay $7,500 for what the remainder was, because there were about 500 copies that he would keep, and then I would get the remainder. So maybe there are more than 1,100 cards in here, now that I think about it. There might be, I forget actually. There might be 1,200, but either way, it's a ridiculous amount of first edition base cards. But anyway, so I told him I was hoping to pay $7,500 for what the remainder was. I kind of broke it down to, I offered, so $7,500 equated to $2.50 per basic energy, $5 per common, and $7.50 per uncommon, plus 25 per big three evolution common cards, so your Charmander or Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle, and then the Yellow Cheeks Pikachu, which we'll be getting to in a minute, and then $30 per big three evolution uncommon, so your Charmeleon, Ivysaur, and Wartortle. So all that added up to just under $7,500. So I told him I'll give you $7,500 for the collection. We got to be real close to each other. He was at $8,500 for the collection. So I told him, how about if we throw in, because I knew he had this no damage Ninetales card. So I said, how about you throw in your no damage Ninetales card, and I'll pay $8,500, which he thought was a real fair offer. He liked that offer, and he ended up countering at $8,750. So we kind of valued the no damage Ninetales at about $1,000, which I said, and then we kind of split the difference on this collection. So I basically paid $7,750 for all these cards, $250 more than I originally wanted to spend, or was hoping to spend. But overall, definitely glad to have these cards. Real exciting purchase. Definitely one of the best purchases that I've made in a long time, if not ever made. Although that, you might not know, I don't think I've ever mentioned this on YouTube before, but a couple of years ago, maybe more than a couple, it was probably 3-4 years ago now, maybe 5 years ago. But anyway, a couple of years back, I actually made another purchase off of King Pokemon, or Gary from Pawn Stars, which consisted of 47,500 unlimited base set non-holo cards. So a bunch of rares, bunch of uncommons, bunch of commons, bunch of basic energy cards. There were actually no rare trainer cards within that purchase. It was just the kind of the character rare cards. But that was a real cool purchase. Just seeing that amount of cards at once. And they were all mint condition. They were all cards that he had opened from booster boxes back in the day. So that was another real cool purchase. But this one is definitely up there along with that purchase. I don't know if I can say this is the best purchase, but it's either top 1 or top 2 in terms of purchases that I've made. But anyway, so we finally agreed to $8,750 for the entire collection, and he mailed it March 4th, and today is March 13th, so it took forever to receive. At least it felt that way, because I was real excited to receive this purchase. And I was checking the tracking. I got a little app on my phone that you can enter all your tracking numbers and kind of keep track of where they are, when they're going to be delivered. So I was checking that app every single day to see where this was, get an update, see when it was going to be delivered, and so on and so forth. And it seemed to take forever to receive. So here's the Yellow Cheeks Pikachus. There were no Red Cheeks Pikachus within this collection, and there was only 4 of the Yellow Cheeks Pikachus. But still, definitely a cool cool purchase right here. So I would check the tracking every single day, and it was stuck as a status saying departed Las Vegas for the longest time, and then finally a couple days ago it was in New York, and then yesterday night it was in Boston. So I knew I was going to be receiving it today because I live right outside of Boston. So that was cool. So finally picked it up this morning. He mailed it registered mail. So that's why it took so long to actually receive, or not so long, but longer than like if you mailed priority or first class mail. But anyway, so I finally received it today. Now I got a lot of cards to go through to figure out what I actually want to do with these. I haven't completely decided what I want to do with these. For the most part, based on his grading scale, for the most part, the majority of these cards seem to be in that PSA 7, PSA 8 range. There's probably a decent amount of 9s in here as well. However, I'm fairly certain there's not going to be any 10s within this collection, which I knew from the beginning, so can't complain about that. But anyway, I don't know. I'm going to look through everything, take them out of his sleeves, kind of grade them myself. Anything I deem to be PSA 9 quality, or if I get lucky and there's a few PSA 10 quality cards that he might have missed, definitely submit those in the PSA for grading. As far as everything else, I don't know what I want to do with those yet. I know PSA 8 first edition base set, common and uncommon cards. Oh, he ripped me off there. Unlimited base set. I'm gonna have to show him that picture. Give him a hard time for that. But anyway, I know PSA 8 and PSA 7 first edition base set, even commons and uncommons, they're worth grading in terms of you can grade the cards and sell them, and still turn a decent profit, couple bucks more than you would get for the card raw. So it's still definitely worth grading. However, I don't know if I want to sell all these cards. I might see about stashing them away for a while, similar to what I'm doing with my Shadowless bulk. I haven't really decided. Anything that I deem to be excellent or played condition, that I'll definitely sell off within my eBay store as individual cards. Anything that I deem PSA gradable, so 9s and 10s, those I'll definitely grade and sell off within my eBay store individually. However, it's that middle ground, that PSA 8 and 7 range, which the majority of this collection should be within that range, if his pre-grading was accurate, which for the most part, I've done a lot of business with him. I purchased a lot of cards from him over the years, and for the most part, he is spot on with his grading. He's real accurate with what he deems his pre-grading to be. So I trust the grades that he gave these cards 100%. So for the most part, this collection should be that PSA 7 to 8 range, and I really don't know what I want to do with them. Whether I just hold on to them for a couple years, see where the pricing goes, because you really can't go wrong with first edition base. That's obviously the top tier, at least in terms of set cards. It really doesn't get better than this. Plus, it would go nice with all the Shadowless cards that I have. It would kind of be a cool little thing to have. Have a 1,200 first edition base set bulk cards, plus all those Shadowless cards that I have. Be a nice little addition into that collection, if you will. But yeah, so I don't know. I haven't quite decided what I'm gonna be doing with these cards. And that's basically about it in terms of this purchase. I think I've told you everything I wanted to tell you about this one. But yeah, definitely real excited to receive it. One of those purchases where normally I purchase something and I don't really check on the tracking number too much, just because I semi frequently get packages at my PO box. So I really don't get excited about too many purchases, real excited about too many purchases. Obviously, I love every purchase that comes in. But I don't get real excited about too many purchases anymore. This was definitely one of them where I got real excited about purchasing and could not wait to actually receive all these cards. Definitely a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to have all of this first edition base set bulk here. Because if you figure, do some quick math here while we're just sorting through these energies. This video is going to be real long. Sorry about that. But anyway, do some quick math here. So a booster box, first edition base set booster box, you have 36 packs, 11 cards in each pack. One of those cards is either a holographic or a rare. So in total, you have 10 cards per pack that are considered bulk. Bulk, if you can call first edition base set cards bulk still. I think it's past that price point. But anyway, so you have 10 cards per pack that you consider bulk. 36 packs, so you have 360 cards per box that you can consider bulk. That's 3 boxes to get up to 1,000 cards, plus a 4th box to get up to 1,400 cards. So you're talking 4 first edition base set boxes to actually acquire all of these cards. 3 or 4 first edition base set boxes to acquire all these cards. Now granted, the condition's going to be mint condition. They're all going to be PSA 9, 10 candidates for the most part. You might get a few 8s here and there. But for the most part, they should all be PSA 9, 10 candidates. But still, 3 or 4 first edition base set boxes to acquire this many cards. And those boxes today are selling for $50,000, $60,000. I know for people who follow Pokemon well, or follow Pokemon as much as I do, Charlie with Ludkin's Collectibles actually just did a first edition base set box break, or he's going to be. He sold the spots. And he was offering 1 heavy first edition base set pack, plus 2 light first edition base set packs. So an art set of each, with one of the packs being heavy. And he was offering that at $7,500 per art set. So if you multiply that by 12 art sets in the box, that's a total of like $90,000 for the booster box. So that's a lot of money, and the cards inside are mostly these guys right here. Like I said, you're only receiving 36 holographic or rare cards, 12 of those being holographic. The rest are all these guys. So that's real cool to think about. Granted, the condition on these is a little bit worse. I'd say these are mostly near mint condition, whereas those would be mint condition. But to just think about that, that's enough of my little rant there. Think about that. That's real cool. That's kind of my thought process. What I think about here, looking at all these cards. But anyway, sorry for the length. Kind of rambling on there, but hopefully you guys enjoyed. Definitely a sweet purchase. Can't wait to go through all these cards and actually verify what the conditions are, see if I agree with what he graded all these cards as. It'll definitely be a long process, because I'll examine each card closely, being that they are first edition base set cards, as opposed to just your normal unlimited or shadowless bulk cards, as you will. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.